2020 Notre Dame season, which we're all extremely grateful is happening. Today we have a rundown of things we're going to do related to the depth chart breakdown, recruiting. We're going to go over the schedule. We're going to have some of the guys on from Dos Leprechauns, some of the other admin on the page to come on and give us their feelings on the depth chart as well as the schedule. We're going to talk a little bit about the golf tournament coming up that Clint Johnson is doing for Athletes for Care. And then we're going to read a little bit about Eric Hansen's from South Bend Tribune's breakdown on what the game day situation may look like this year. Nate will be on after the recruiting interview that we have coming up. Nate's going to be on Facebook responding to any comments you may have. So if you have comments you'd like aired on the show, let us know and we'll try to get those questions answered, or we'll read your comment online as well. So with that, we're going to bring on Mason Plummer. Mason is with Blue and Gold Illustrated. He's their recruiting analyst, also works for Rivals. So Mason, we're going to talk to you a little bit about recruiting, what's been going on, and anything else you might want to add. So kind of wanted to ask you, have you heard anything about the 5-star quarterback we have coming in next year, Tyler Buckner, and what he's doing to prepare himself since football is not currently being played in California?
Yeah, it's a really unfortunate situation for Tyler. He's not able to play a senior season. I was super excited to be able to watch him play. I was actually going to plan a trip out to California to see him play. I'm from Indiana, so it's kind of a far trip, but it's totally worth it when you're talking about a guy of his caliber. I would love to be able to watch him play, but like you said, doesn't look like a season's going to happen for them. So he's been doing everything he can to prepare. He didn't look great in the Elite 11, as you guys probably know. He had to make some changes, but I think he's throwing the ball. He's spinning it better than he ever has, and his trajectory heading into Notre Dame is just great right now.
Awesome. And so I know, we were kind of in a similar situation as far as football. Nate's on a high school team out here, and it does look like they're going to play, but it's looking like it's going to be more of like a January time frame. What is it that he's doing right now, or any of the other California recruits that they're doing to stay active, stay ready, stay sharp?
I think for Tyler Buckner, when his throwing motion in the Elite 11, it didn't look like his normal throwing motion. And for whatever reason that was, I don't know exactly what it was, what he had tweaked, but it didn't look right. So now he's back to his old throwing motion and back to the Tyler Buckner that we know and love, the guy that everybody has seen as 5-star quality. So as far as other guys, some other Notre Dame guys from the California area, and just athletes in general, you think that they're just training every day in the event that, maybe that we can find a vaccine for this whole thing and that they can be playing football, as soon as maybe tomorrow. That seems unrealistic for right now, but they got to keep that hope in their mind, and they're just looking forward to getting back on the field as soon as possible, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. That's what I've seen a lot of these young athletes doing, is just trying to stay ready however they possibly can, whether it be conditioning, going to training camps, going out of state to participate in some different things. So I really admire the kids that are really trying to get that college to give them an opportunity. So I appreciate the background on that. So talking a little bit about the freshmen that we have this year on the team, obviously everybody knows about Jordan Johnson, Chris Tyree, even to a certain extent Michael Mayer. Is there somebody else that's on campus already been practicing with the team that you're thinking may have a role in this year's offense or defense, special teams, or maybe somebody flying under the radar that some of the fans don't know about?
Yeah, all the hype on offense has gone towards Michael Mayer and Jordan Johnson, but I'm going to go with another wide receiver that I think could have potentially an even greater impact than Jordan Johnson this season. That's Xavier Watts out of Nebraska.
Yeah.
I love this kid's upside. He's just a stud, and once you get the ball in his hands, he can be gone in a flash, and he makes things happen. I really think that he can be an impact player in the slot if Lawrence Keys doesn't pan out the way that Notre Dame thinks he might. Watts is just a playmaker in all senses of the word, and then on the defensive side of the ball, Riley Mills came into Notre Dame as a defensive end. Looks like he's going to shift into defensive tackle. But he's just been mauling guys so far. And, in the few clips that we've seen from Notre Dame, I haven't been able to go to practices, unfortunately. I'd love to be able to. But, he's just been mauling guys. And he looks like he could be a third or fourth-year guy at Notre Dame. And he's just an incoming freshman. So I could definitely see him getting some early playing time, potentially even burning his red shirt, because that's how good he is on the defensive line.
Coach Kelly's talked a lot about Jordan Botello off the edge. What have you seen from Jordan and the little bit of clips you have seen? What have you seen from him in high school that may get fans excited to watch him play this year?
Well, see, that's a great question. I like watching guys that play with an edge, and that's what Botello does. And it's almost frightening to watch what he can do to guys. So, he plays right on that edge between, he's really aggressive, and it's, it's kind of scary, but at the same time, he's in control, but there's no doubt about it that he wants to hurt who he's tackling, right? So he's going to do anything to get to the quarterback. He loves nothing more than to get a good sack, and he's not afraid to lay the lumber either. So he's a guy that I really think he could get himself some early playing time. He reminds me a lot of Aaron Lynch, and that didn't really work out at Notre Dame for Lynch, but he plays, like I said, with that edge, and there's something about him that I just really love, and I think that he could be an NFL player one day.
Wow, that's high praise right there. Was he was a 3-star, if I remember correctly? Is that right?
Yeah, he was a 3-star, but ended up shooting up. I thought he could have been in 5-star territory, but his senior season didn't pan out the way he would have liked. But with some added tape, I think he could have been really close to that really high 4-star, 5-star range.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm really excited to see Jordan play. When Coach Kelly raves about a freshman like he was the other day with Jordan Botello, I think that really goes a lot in what you might see out of him throughout the year. So that's a good analysis right there. What's kind of the latest buzz on some of the 4- and 5-star recruits that are on Notre Dame's radar? Maybe some guys that have taken some unofficial visits, some people that maybe some names that we haven't heard of. So who are some guys out there that Notre Dame fans should be aware of? Maybe check out on social media that Notre Dame has high on their radar.
Yes, I got one for you in the 2021 class on offense and one for you in the 2022 class on defense. We'll go with 2021 first. Jaden Thomas. If you follow Notre Dame recruiting, you know this name. Wide receiver out of Georgia, out of the Atlanta area. Obviously, Georgia's going to be a big player in this one. He's right in the heart of Georgia country. But it was initially expected it's going to be like a Notre Dame and Michigan battle. Michigan continues to take wide receivers, recently taking Andrell Anthony from in-state Michigan. So they just added another wide receiver. Penn State's continued to add wide receivers, and that looked like another landing spot for Thomas potentially. So now it looks to be down to Notre Dame and Georgia. Thomas loves what he's hearing from Notre Dame and the Notre Dame staff. He plays baseball as well, so that can come into play, as Notre Dame will definitely let him play football and baseball. They've had a lot of success with that in the past. Golden Tate, Jeff Samardzija come to mind. So that's a recruitment I'm really excited to continue to watch. Like I said, a Notre Dame and Georgia battle there. And then in the 2022 class, Sebastian Cheeks, a linebacker out of Illinois, really close to home, close to South Bend, I should say. And this kid, he's an absolute stud. It's looking like between Notre Dame and Michigan already in this one. He's going to take his recruitment slow, but he showed a lot of early interest in Notre Dame. I'm liking what I'm hearing about him, and I'm really excited to see some more film on him this fall.
So Coach Kelly in the offseason talked a lot about changing the recruiting culture, really going after, mainly 4- and 5-star type guys. Have you seen, as a recruiting analyst and somebody that spends a lot of time talking about, looking at researching recruiting, have you seen a significant impact in how Notre Dame has been recruiting this offseason?
I think that they're pushing harder for guys rather than slow playing. So you got to push harder for the top guys that you really want. And that's it's a shift that I think has been staff-wide. They just got to push a little bit harder if they really want to be in that top group. Rather than fighting for the 3 and 4 stars, why not push for the 5 stars? And the staff caught a lot of flack for not landing Will Shipley, but I really think that they did everything that they possibly could have done to land Shipley, and it just doesn't work out. You can't win them all. It's cliche, but it's true.
I think if the pandemic hadn't been going on, I think we would have had a lot better shot at Will Shipley. You get somebody on campus at Notre Dame. I know he's a South Carolina kid, so Clemson was obviously Clemson, but you get somebody on campus and you show them all the bells and whistles and the Golden Dome and Touchdown Jesus, the field. I mean, it's really hard to say no to Notre Dame. So I think if we had an opportunity to get him on campus a little bit more, I think we might have been able to land him.
Yeah, I've said that a couple times actually. Is that let's say COVID-19 never existed. He gets on campus a couple times. He gets to be in person with Blake Fisher, Tyler Buckner, all the 2021 guys. I really think he's a Notre Dame player. It's unfortunate. I think in some ways that COVID-19 has hit Notre Dame harder than other schools, but they're going to rebound and they'll be just fine.
From what you've seen, who do you think is kind of quote unquote the closer of the Notre Dame coaching staff when they really need a kid and they feel like they need that one extra spark? Who's kind of somebody that they send in to say, okay, you go land us that kid, go land us Will Shipley, go land us Xavier Watts, that kind of thing?
I think it's got to be Clark Lee. Clark Lee has proven himself to be a great recruiter, not only on the defensive side of the ball, but offense as well. Guys believe in him, and you could say the same about Brian Kelly as well. But Clark Lee, he just talks with such charisma that you really believe in everything he's saying. And if he really puts the time into wanting somebody, he really believes that they're a great fit at Notre Dame, more often than not, he lands them. So you're talking about Clark Lee as a recruiter. He just does all the little things well and makes guys really feel like they matter. And that's who you want as your closer, and you got to hope that Clark Lee sticks around for a long time at Notre Dame. I think that a big time coaching job is going to be coming for him in the next year or two, which is unfortunate for Notre Dame. You'd love to see him move on and do great things, but at the same time, you can keep him around. He's one of the best defensive coaches I've seen in a long time.
I heard Brian Driscoll from Irish Breakdown talk about Clark Lee the other day, and he mentioned that he doesn't think this offseason we stand much of a chance of losing Clark Lee, mainly just due to the pandemic, and that schools aren't really going to hold their coaches necessarily as accountable as they would from a regular season standpoint. So I think we have him for at least this year and next, but then I think, like you said, it's going to be tough to hold on to a guy like that after all the success he's had and looks to have this year.
Definitely, and it would be hard for him to turn down a big time coaching job where he can have the reins essentially. And I think that he really could be a really big time Division I coach, depending on where he goes. If he finds a great fit, I think he could be really successful. And initially, I was in the camp that Brian Kelly decides to kind of ride this thing out and be done at Notre Dame, that Clark Lee could be a successor. I think it might be a little bit better for him to potentially go somewhere else and maybe even come back to Notre Dame.
Sure.
Once he has some success somewhere else. So I think that could be really interesting and something to keep an eye on as we look towards the future.
No, great point. All right, Mason. Well, hey, we appreciate the time. I appreciate you dropping some knowledge on the folks on recruiting. I hadn't heard. I know obviously everybody's heard of Jaden Daniels, but I know some haven't. So appreciate you bringing him up. Anything else you want to drop on everybody before you go, or they can contact you, where they can find you, stay more in contact?
Yeah, on Twitter at @MasonPlummer_. You'll find all the latest recruiting news there. And then on Blue and Gold Illustrated at BGI News on Twitter as well. We've got a lot of stuff cooking up for the 2021 and 2022 classes. You don't want to miss it.
Okay, Mason, thanks for the time today, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Take care. All right, now we're going to transition into a look at our depth chart. We're going to have several members of the Dos Leprechauns admin team join us throughout the call here on Zoom to kind of get their thoughts on the depth chart, the schedule, and anything else as we get 6 days away from the actual start of the season. So with that, just today, Notre Dame released the depth chart on both offense and defense. We're going to kind of go through that a little bit here. Quarterback, obviously, goes without saying who our starting quarterback QB1 is. That's going to be Ian Book. The backup was listed as Brendan Clark, and then the 3 deep was Drew Pine. So there's really no surprise there. The running back room is going to be very interesting this year, I think, but I think a couple of guys have really provided some distance between themselves and the others. And so it looks like our starting running back and, lion's share of the carry will be Kyron Williams. They do have Chris Tyree listed second, Jafar Armstrong, followed by Sibo Flemester, Jameer Smith, and then the recent switch to running back of Kendall Abdul Raham. I want to get Matt Dunbar, who's on with us, one of our Dos Leprechaun admin. I'd like to get your thoughts, Matt. Tell us what you think about the running back position this year.
The running back position's one of the positions I'm most excited about. I was kind of disappointed to see what happened with Kyron last year. It was like, I think it was one of the early games. It might have been the opening game. He made a mistake, and we never saw Kyron again. And to see Kyron fight and to work hard to get himself to the top of the depth chart is really exciting for me. Obviously, over on Brian Driscoll today, he had asked, what player you're most excited to see. And it was really hard for me because the easy answer is Chris Tyree. He's the unknown. He's a true freshman who has more speed than we've probably seen on campus in many years. So getting to see him was going to be an exciting thing, of course, but Kyron Williams was the kid I'm the most excited about. I've always, for the underdog, the kid that, he made a mistake in a game last year, and Kelly benched him, and then we didn't see him again. I'm really excited to see Kyron get his shot as our starting running back.
And it sounds like Kyron's put on a good amount of size as well, so that's exciting to see. The one I was most surprised by was Sibo Flemester being knocked down to what looks like the fourth option out of the backfield. I really like the way he runs the football. He's real tough, goes after guys, doesn't avoid tackles, much more of a thunder kind of guy. I was a little bit surprised to see him that low, but if Chris Tyree and Kyron Williams are showing they can do the job, then more power to them. I think you're going to see a lot of Chris Tyree, and we talked about this on our chat group. I think we're going to see a lot of Chris Tyree on the punt return and kick return game as well. What do you think, Matt?
I fully 100% agree with you that we're going to see a lot of Chris Tyree on the kickoff return. The only thing that scares me about that is Chris continues to develop his body and get a little more size, get a little more bulk on him, is him taking a hard hit and getting up and us losing him for a period of time.
Right.
That's my big concern with Chris is just size at this point. I think he'll grow into a bigger kid, a thicker kid as time goes on. But he wasn't an early enrollee, so we didn't get him in as early. But yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of Chris in the kickoff return game, and I also think obviously we're going to get to see the running back, and I suspect we might even see him occasionally drop into the slot, maybe catch a couple passes to see if he can take off and burn the defense.
No, I'd love that. Maybe some reverses. A lot of trickeration could be used with Chris Tyree. He's just got that elite speed that we've needed for so long. So very exciting running back room. Lynch, we got Jason Lynch on now as well, another member of the Dos Leprechauns admin team. Lynch, you got anything you want to add on the running back room? Anything you were surprised by, excited by, anything like that?
The running back room looks pretty solid. I was a little surprised to see Jafar at running back as a 1. But it is definitely a deep room. So
definitely.
Just have to see what happens.
It's a pretty valuable situation to have a guy like Jafar Armstrong as your third guy when he's got a lot of experience now at this point. I was thinking I think like you were, Lynch, that maybe they would move him to receiver, but that'll actually take us next to the wide receiver group. So at the W position, they have listed as the number 1 Ben Skoranek, the transfer from Northwestern. Then I think it was an or. I didn't see this on the depth chart, but from what I understand, it's an or. Javon McKinley. And then you've got Jordan Johnson, Micah Jones, and they had Kevin Austin Jr. listed as an asterisk because obviously looks like he's going to be out for at least the first 4 games. Guys, what do you think about the wide receiver group at the W position?
Well, I think as far as, with Skoranek, I saw, there was a little bit of a debate yesterday on the page about Skoranek. I think Skoranek with his experience is what has him as listed as the number 1 right now. I truly think that when Kevin Austin returns, he'll be the number 1. Jordan Johnson, he's a 5-star. He's going to be, he's the future talent. The question's going to be, has he picked up the playbook, and is he ready to go right now? And does he feel comfortable enough with the playbook to go with the ones as a number 1? And that's yet to be seen. Like I said, Skoranek, he fits the bill right now because of the fact that Kevin Austin's injured. And as long as Kevin can stay, once he gets healthy in the next 4 weeks or or so, as long as he can stay healthy and, this isn't something that's a surprise, as long as he can stay out of Kelly's doghouse, I think he's our number 1, our true number 1 at that position.
Lynch, you got anything?
No, I'd have to agree with Matt. That's 100% what I'm thinking.
I would love to see. I really, I have a vested interest in Javon McKinley. He's a local kid here. He played football about 15 minutes, actually less than that, probably 10 minutes from where we live at Corona Centennial. Great family. His mom, Strella, is a really great lady. His dad's a firefighter, so just a really cool family. His brother is actually killing it in a travel ball football team right now, so I think he could be a future Domer as well. But yeah, I'd like to see Javon kind of take that number 1 role at the W position and really just blow up and fulfill the hope that we have for that kid. And I think he will because he's finally healthy. He's been working real hard in the offseason. So I'm going to say that Javon McKinley is going to establish himself there, and Skoranek will be more of a role player. And we'll probably see some highlights from Jordan Johnson that will wow us and get us excited for the future. At the X spot, we got obviously Braden Lindsay. Agent 0 is what we're going to call him this year. He's wearing number 0, which I think is really cool. Followed by Joe Wilkins Jr., and then the 3 deep is Jay Burnell. Anything on that, guys? No surprises there, in my opinion.
Lindsay's just speed. I mean, it's
so
just,
fast.
That's all it is. Looked at his stats last year: 24 touches, 454 yards, 4 touchdowns. That's pretty substantial stats.
Definitely, and you think back to his run against USC, where he just burned basically everybody, and that's elite speed against elite speed. And he shows that when you're paired up against elite speed, he can still make those plays. So you're right, man. He's just a super fast kid, track kid. I am really excited to see what Braden Lindsay is going to bring to the table this year. The Z position, we got Lawrence Keys III, followed by Avery Davis making an appearance at wide receiver again. I mean, the kid's played quarterback, safety, running back, wide receiver. You got to love Avery Davis, man. So, we'll see. He's an athlete. Avery Davis is a kid that can make some plays. So you'll see Avery Davis there. And then at the 3 deep, Mason Plummer, our first guest, mentioned this kid, Xavier Watts from Nebraska. That's another one, guys. I think in the future, our future at wide receiver, you're looking at Jordan Johnson and Xavier Watts. I think you're going to see a lot of Xavier Watts on the field this year. What do you guys think?
I think to jump back to Jay Brunell, I think we're going to see Jay Brunell on the field this year. And Xavier Watts is the kid that we had talked about during this last recruiting cycle. That I think initially, I don't know how he ended. I can't recall, but I know he was a 3-star. But I think he was very underrated. I think we're going to see a lot of Xavier Watts this year. Lawrence Keys, he's the obvious number 1 choice, but he's not a bigger guy, so there's going to be some times where he may take a shot and may need to bring him off the field, and I think that's when Watts is going to have his opportunities to shine in the offense. Hopefully he takes full advantage of it.
No, absolutely. The wide receiver position, I know on our page yesterday there was a lot of discussion about the wide receiver group, and I'm personally very excited for the wide receiver group. I think we've got a lot of depth, and I think we've got a ton of speed, which you haven't necessarily seen in the past. This year, we don't have a Chase Claypool that's going to make the big play after big play after big play. You're kind of your go-to wide receiver, but you've got 4 or 5 guys that will definitely make plays that'll kind of contribute along the way. Tight end position, you got my boy Tommy Trimble, TT. I know Lynch loves when I do the TT after a touchdown or a first down, so we're going to see a lot of that this year. You got Tommy Trimble, number 1, Brock Wright, Michael Mayer. I know that's Matt Dunbar's guy. Tell us what you think about Michael Mayer there, Dunbar.
I don't think there's any shot of Michael Mayer not seeing the field and seeing it pretty regularly throughout this season. He was my kid that when we had kind of discussed the Kyle Hamilton of him being the standout freshman, I think Michael Mayer has an opportunity to, depending on everybody's health with the COVID-19 situation, everything going on. As long as everybody can stay healthy, I think Mayer is going to make a name for himself this year, and he's going to be very well noticed from this year moving forward.
I couldn't agree more. Last year, I was a little skeptical about your man crush with Kyle Hamilton, but you proved me wrong. This year, I have zero doubt that Michael Mayer is going to be an absolute phenom, and we'll see the field often. And I don't think it's just going to be throwing a couple blocks or maybe a little 3, 4, 5-yard pass. I think you're going to see that kid score some touchdowns, and I think you're going to see him really establish himself on the scene as the next great tight end at Notre Dame.
I didn't mean to cut Tommy Trimble short, because he is our starter, and that kid's shown a lot of flashes of greatness. But since you brought up Mayer, yeah, he's my this year. He's the kid I think that we're going to see shine.
Love it. Offensive line.
What about?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Lynch.
George Takis?
George Takis, yeah, he scored a touchdown last year. He's a reliable guy. To tell you the depth of the tight end position at Notre Dame, he's listed as the number 4 tight end on this team. That's unreal. So I think you'll see a lot of 2 tight end sets this year, and I think you'll see 2 tight end sets that they actually have a chance to catch the ball and not just block for Kyron Williams. So yeah, George Takis is listed as the number 4 back, but I think you'll see him a lot this year too. And like Dunbar mentioned, we got to deal with the reality. We're in a world of COVID at this exact moment, so who knows what's going to happen to some of these guys. You could see some of these guys playing right away. Who knows? So it's great that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 very, very talented tight ends on a roster. Moving on to the offensive line, this is definitely a position of strength for the Irish. If they're not the best offensive line in the group, in the nation, whether it be teams that are playing or not playing, I'd like somebody to challenge me on who that might be. You got all 5 starters returning. Everybody's healthy, knock on wood, praying that everybody will stay healthy. Got Liam Eichenberg at left tackle, Aaron Banks at left guard, Jarrett Patterson at center, Tommy Kramer at right guard, and Robert Hainsey at right tackle. Brian Driscoll on his All-ACC team had Hainsey and Eichenberg as All-ACC players. I know they're also preseason All-ACC, and I think a couple of them have some preseason All-American looks. So our offensive line, there's literally no excuse. I know we've had our issues with our concerns with oh my gosh, I can't even. Who's our offensive line coach? I'm drawing a total blank here. Quinn. Coach Quinn. Sorry. I know we've had some challenges there, but I think that the talent's there. There's literally no reason we shouldn't be able to move the ball at will, especially with the schedule that we're playing. You guys got anything on the O-line?
We just have to keep Eichenberg still.
This is what?
I said we just have to keep Eichenberg still.
Yeah.
Until the ball.
Well, there's not going to be any stadiums with 100,000 people in it this year, so maybe that'll take out some of the nerves from some of those false starts that we saw last year. But I would imagine that with everything else being locked in with that guy, that they probably spend a good amount of time making sure he knows the snap count every single time this year. Switching up to the defensive side of the ball, at the edge position, you've got I'm going to mess this name up, but it's Aid Ogundiji starting at the edge rush position, followed by Justin Adamalola, and then Kofi Wardlow at the 3 deep. At Viper, I love that name. You got Dalen Hayes, Ovi Ogufu, Isaiah Foskey, Key, and then Jordan Botello. I think that Viper position is going to be very fluid. I think you'll see a lot of Ovi. I think you'll see a lot of Key, and then I think you'll see some of Jordan Botello, like Coach Kelly mentioned. What do you guys think about our edge position so far?
You can go.
Ogundji's going to be a stud.
Agreed.
I'm interested to see the one kid that I'm interested to see. He's had a lot of hype behind him the entire time, since he got here. Is Isaiah Foskey. He's the kid I really want to see get on the field and play.
He made some plays last year at the Stanford game. He scored he caused the. Can't remember if he scored the touchdown, but he blocked the punt to score the touchdown there at the end of the game. So yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of Key. I think you're going to see you got 7 guys there at the edge positions at either Viper or edge rush. They can really get after the quarterback. I don't know if you guys heard my interview with Mason Plummer, but he talked about Jordan Botello playing with that violent streak. He really wants to hurt somebody. He referenced Aaron Lynch when talking about Jordan Botello. So pretty exclusive company there. We'll see what happens, but I'm excited for this. I'm very, very excited. I can't say it enough for the edge and Viper position. I think, although, again, we don't have a Julian Aquara or a Khalid Kareem, you've got the depth and you got the leadership in Dalen Hayes that I think this is going to be a very special group. In the interior, you've got MTA, Myron Aloso, I'm never going to get his name right, followed by Jason Adamalola, Howard Cross, and then Riley Mills, another group that I think is a little bit underrated coming into the season. Riley Mills is their incoming freshman that I've heard nothing but good things about. At the nose, you've got Kurt Heinisch, Jacob Lacey, and Jamion Franklin. From what I understand, that position also is going to be very fluid. You're going to have a lot of rotating in of guys. Jacob Lacey's shown he can get the job done. Same with Jamion Franklin. And then Kurt Heinisch is obviously a senior that's going to be looking to improve his draft stock and maybe make an impact. So nose, I think we're in a good spot as well. Here's the next position, the next 2 positions we're going to talk about. I want to get your guys' thoughts because I'll be honest, I'm a little concerned here. Middle linebacker, they have Drew White starting, followed by Bo Bauer, and then JT Bertrand. I don't know. What do you guys? What's your take on that 3 deep there at the middle linebacker position?
Go ahead, Jason. You can cover more of the defense if you'd like.
I'm trying to pull it up. I'm not finding the.
I think my concern is Drew White showed some flashes of being a decent player last year. He reminds me a little bit of Joe Schmidt, but maybe a little bit more talented in terms of the speed and power. But I don't know, man. I feel like if there's an opportunity to attack our defense, it's at the middle linebacker position. I really, really loved what I saw out of Bo Bauer on special teams last year, so I'm wondering if maybe he'll establish himself a little bit more in that middle spot, but we'll see.
I think that's what I'm looking for. I'm just looking for a guy to establish himself.
Yeah.
I know Bo Bauer, like you said, I was impressed with his special teams play. I just want to see what he does with his opportunity to be out on the field. Drew White's a solid kid. I think he kind of established himself big time in that Navy game. I think it was 2 years ago when he got his shot to get in there. I mean, he really impressed me. As somebody we had never, he wasn't one of the quote unquote big name kids that coming out of high school, but Drew's an established player, but we just don't have that, that flashy linebacker that we've had in years past. We don't have like a Jalen right now.
Right.
As long as these kids can go out there and establish themselves and be solid linebacking core, I think we're going to be okay. But that is the position that I'm most concerned with at this point.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right, and that leads me to my next point, which is the buck linebacker, and that's another position of concern for me, and I'll tell you why. Jordan Ginmar-Keith is listed as a starter. He started a couple games, and let's be honest, didn't look great. Didn't look terrible either, and he's a phenomenal athlete, so I think he can get the job done. I think the biggest thing with Ginmar-Keith is he just has to get out of his own way. He just needs to play and let his athleticism speak for itself. He'll be backed up by Jack Lamb, followed by Shane Simon. Jack Lamb's a kid that had all kinds of hype coming out of high school, 4-star kid here out of Temecula Great Oak, and he's just been hurt time after time after time. If he stays healthy, I think Jack Lamb will probably end up by the end of the season as being the starter at Buck. That's just my prediction. I think he's very heady player. He's fast. He's strong. He's gotten bigger in the offseason. So I think if Jack Lamb can stay healthy, I think he'll end up by, I don't know, week 4 or 5 as the starter at Buck linebacker position.
Yeah, Jack's a kid I hope he stays healthy and gets, that he's one of the kids that's like a Sean Crawford that just keeps getting hurt over and over again. You just want him to get healthy and get out there and blow it up on the field. Those two positions I know where you're getting ready to probably go next. The rover position, that's not a position I have any concern with at all.
None. No, that's a good segue. So moving into the rover spot, you've got Jeremiah Owusu-Kumeya, Jock, better known to most of you, who is just he's a once-in-a-generation talent. He's going to be playing on Sundays. He'll probably be playing a lot on Sundays. He's a freak athlete, very smart player, great leader. You can go on and on about Jock. He's going to be he's really going to lead that linebacking group, and I'm excited to see his next year as kind of that impact player on the linebacker side of the ball. Backing him up is Paul Moala, who we saw last year. We posted on our page, scored a touchdown against Navy. Really good local kid out of Indiana. He is a guy that I think if he was playing any other position would probably be starting. But as it is, he's going to be our backup at the rover position. And then behind him, you got Jack Kaiser, who's another guy that could probably start at most other universities. So very solid rover group. Middle linebacker and Buck will be a concern, but we're hoping one of these guys steps up and establishes himself. In the secondary, we'll start with cornerback. At the field position, you got Tariq Bracey starting, backed up by Zay Rutherford. I'm going to call it right now. Zay Rutherford will be starting by week 2. Tariq Bracey stresses me out. There's no other way for me to put it. He doesn't seem to want to turn his head. Has got burnt quite a few times last year in mop-up duty. Zay Rutherford hasn't really had a chance to do much yet, but he's a phenomenal athlete. I'm going to say that Zay Rutherford starts by week 2. You guys got anything on the field position?
Yeah, I don't ever want to. Yeah, but Tariq, he's had his struggles out there, and I've had my frustrations with his struggles. I don't know how quick Zay will get out there, but I think you're right. Zay will end up taking over that position.
Yep.
But Tariq has got the experience, and I think that's what's getting him out there to start. And I hope to see him and Zay at least, come in and out with each other and see what Zay can do out there.
At the boundary position, you got starting. This was a little bit of a surprise to me. I thought it was going to be KJ or Cam, but you got Nick McLeod starting. He's a transfer from, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's North Carolina State, right? I think is where so Nick McLeod coming over from North Carolina State as the starter there at the boundary position, followed by Cam Hart, and then the 3 deep is KJ Wallace. I don't see how you can be too upset. You got Coach Mickens, who apparently has just been killing it, coaching up a kid that has been playing a lot of football. I think we're going to be fine at the boundary position with Nick McLeod, Cam Hart, and KJ Wallace. Strong safety position. You got an all-world player back there, Kyle Hamilton. Enjoy him while you can. I think maybe you have him for this year and next. Most likely, if he has another killer year, it could be just this year. The kid is an absolute phenom, once-in-a-generation talent. You just don't see players like this. His size, his speed, his ability, his strength, his headiness. Just an absolute out-of-control phenom. This is your boy, Dunbar, so tell us about Kyle Hamilton.
I don't even think we even need to have me discuss Kyle Hamilton. I told you coming in out of high school, I said, when you get the number 15 overall kid in the nation, a 5-star kid for 24/7 sports, that's not somebody that's going to stay off the field. I said it from then. I think we'll keep him. He's going to play through his junior year. After that third year, depends on where Kyle is with his education, but if he's a guaranteed top 10, top 15, even 20 pick, Kyle's going to be gone after his junior year.
Yeah.
I think we need to enjoy him this year and next year and wish for the best for him from whatever he decides to do after that.
I think you're right.
A generational safety.
And then behind...
There's still a 20 out there somewhere on Hamilton in there, Matt.
Oh, yeah.
I said there's still a 20 out there somewhere on Hamilton in there.
Yeah, Hendricks owes me $20 off of that, so let's get that out there. I think he betted. What was the bet, Hendricks?
It was. I think I was going to send Nate out to you to do some yard work.
Well, no, what was the bet? I think I guaranteed that he would play at least 4 games in all 12 games.
You did. I think you said 3 games, and I said no way. He's not going to play 3 games, and then the next thing you know, he's starting at safety by week I think it was week 4. So you got me on that one. Good job. At the free safety position, you got the 10th year senior, 35-year-old Sean Crawford starting at free safety, Just kidding. He's not that old, but he's been around Notre Dame forever. I literally pray that this kid can stay healthy and not have some sort of devastating injury on the field or off. Because if he can, he's going to be a solid player at the free safety position. And I hope he can have the kind of year that he's able to go and get drafted and not just be a walk-on somewhere, but actually get drafted and have a good career in the NFL. He'll be backed up by Houston Griffith, who I think will play a lot as well, but he's the second person there. Kicker, you got Jonathan Doerr coming back. He was solid last year. That's Nate's boy right there. Nate loves Jonathan Doerr. And our punter is Jay Bramblett. So that's the depth chart breakdown that was released today. Not too many surprises, but I'm excited to see, like I mentioned, that on the defensive side of the ball, I think you're going to see a lot of the names that we mentioned, if not all the names that we mentioned at some point or the other. So it's going to be a good time. All right, so what we're going to do right now, we're going to go through the schedule real quickly because we're starting to run a little bit long on time. And I just want you guys to say win or loss. We're not going to get too deep into it. Just a win or a loss. Me, Nate, Lynch, and Matt Dunbar are all going to give you who we think wins each of these games. I'm going to give a little intro, and then we'll go from there. So we'll start off, obviously, in 6 days, 22 hours, and 27 minutes against Duke at home. You got Mark Gilbert at the cornerback position, is probably their best player. They are returning 4 out of their 5 offensive linemen, so our D-line will get a decent look right out the gate. I'm predicting a big win. Nate?
Yeah, I'm going to have a big win.
Lynch?
I'm going to go no Danny Dimes, Notre Dame rolls Duke.
Dunbar?
Go with Notre Dame
By a
by
lot.
17 in this game.
Okay, fair enough. You said by 17. All right. Next up, we got this is a revenge game. I want to run the score up badly against these guys. You got a couple interesting notes on this game. You've got Eddie McDoom as their best player. He's a wide receiver, pretty good talent right there. Other than that, not a lot to speak of. But their defensive coordinator recently mentioned that he's going to be throwing in a very unique style of defense, and it's going to be unusual, were his exact words. So I'm interested to see that. But also of note in that game is that the offensive coordinator at South Florida has spent some time on the Notre Dame sidelines, and that's none other than Charlie Weiss Jr. is their offensive coordinator. So that'll be very interesting to see. He's apparently a phenom in the offensive coordinator realm. So it'll be Charlie Weiss versus Tommy Rees in the battle of the offensive coordinators. Okay, I got a huge win. I really think we're going to put it on them. I got a 21-point victory for the Irish.
Say a 24-point victory.
Okay. Dunbar?
20.
Nate or Lynch?
I'm going to go 17. As bad as I hate to, it's going to be. It could be a trap.
All right. I think you're wrong. Next up, we got our first.
I'm wrong.
Yeah, I do too. Next up, we got our first road game at Wake Forest. Wake Forest, can't sleep on them. They're not going to be great, but they do have Sam Hartman, who's a returning starter at quarterback. Really good defensive end named Carlos Beckham, who I think can be pretty decent. But other than that, not a lot of big name talent on their team. So at Wake Forest, I think we'll win that one comfortably. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I think that might be a closer game than people think. I think we win by 10.
Okay. Lynch?
See, I'm flipped with Nate on these two. I think 28. Notre Dame by 28.
Love it. Dunbar?
I think they win comfortably. I'm not going to call a number on this one. This being the first road game, and like I said, this whole season. I mean, in a normal football season, trying to keep 18 to 22-year-olds focused. Well, in Sean Crawford's case, like 24, trying to keep these kids focused for a normal 12-game season. This one's only an 11. Trying to keep these kids focused with everything going on between COVID. You never can tell.
Yeah.
So this season could go either way.
But
Notre Dame will win that game.
Okay. Next game is, we have a bye on October 3rd, then October 10th versus Florida State at home. Florida State's always going to have a decent amount of talent. They got a new coach, Mike Norvell. They've got a couple good wide receivers, a good defensive tackle. I still say we blow the doors off those guys, so win.
Yeah, I got to win by 30+.
Whoa.
Ooh.
All right. I like it, Nate. Lynch, who you got?
I've got Notre Dame. It could be tied.
Okay. Dunbar?
Notre Dame.
All
Notre
right.
Dame.
Okay, October 17th. This is going to be a tough one right here. We got October 17th, Louisville, up-and-coming program. You got the Coach Satterfield from Appalachian State, who last year gave Notre Dame a run until about the end of the game. You've got their returning quarterback, Malik Cunningham, defensive tackle Jared Goldwire, Wide receiver Tutu Atwell. They've got some talent. They've got some speed. And I think they play with an edge, and I like the way they play. But I don't think they're ready for Notre Dame yet. I got Notre Dame by 10 to 14, somewhere in that range. Nate?
Yeah, Notre Dame by 3 scores.
Okay. Lynch?
Comfortably Notre Dame on this one.
Ooh, okay. Dunbar?
Notre Dame, let's go. I'll just give you a number in this one. 13.
All right, I like it. Next up, October 24th, another game that's going to give us some problems at Pitt. Pitt always plays us tough, especially at Pitt. Kenny Pickett's returning for, it seems like, his 15th year. I swear, every time I can remember back 3 years ago, Kenny Pickett starting, so I don't know how that guy still has eligibility. But anyways, they've got some talent. They've got a lot of returning talent on defense, a lot of returning talent on offense, and they're coached well. We're going to win, but this one's going to be a nail-biter, boys. This will be the first heart attack special. This will be the first time that I dip into proper 12 by halftime. This will be the first time that my boy Always Irish on Twitter starts wanting to kill everybody and everything. But I still say we win by at least 10.
I think we win by a touchdown.
Okay. Dunbar, who you got on that one?
Notre Dame, and I'm a little more with Nate on this one. I think this one's going to be a little closer just because they always play us hard.
All right. Lynch?
I agree heavily. It's going to be either 7 or 10.
Next up, Halloween night at Georgia Tech. I don't see them giving us any problems at all. They're obviously going to run the option. It's going to be a little goofy-looking football, but I think we beat them by two touchdowns, if not 3 scores. Nate?
Yeah, I think we win by 24.
Lynch?
This is the one that's going to prep us for the next game to find out defensively to make sure we're at where we need to be. I think it's going to be a win, but I don't know how close it's going to be.
Fair enough. What about you, Dunbar?
I don't think this game will be close. Notre Dame by 3 scores.
All right. So next week is the big one versus Clemson at home in South Bend. We've all been circling this one on the calendar for years, ever since the playoff game where they had a couple more points than us. I have a ton of confidence in this team. I was telling Nate the other day, normally I'm a little bit like, hey, we may start off slow, we may this and that. This team seems to be very together. This team seems to have a lot of depth. They've got a ton of playmakers, a ton of speed. I don't care what anybody says. They're well coached. We're going to beat Clemson at home in the regular season. We're going to win that game, and we're going to go. Yeah. Anyways, we're going to beat Clemson. Nate, what do you got?
I'd say we lose, but it's close. We're in it until I'd say the last minute. They have a long drive to end it, and they kick a field goal to win it. So Clemson by 3.
All right, Dunbar, what about you?
It's my wife's birthday, so I'm going to die that day from watching that night game instead of taking her out for her birthday. This is a tough one. I'm going back and forth. I think if the weather is crappy, I think we have a shot. But I'm going to say Clemson gets us in this one, and it'll be within. I think it'll be a lot closer than it's been in the past.
All right. Lynch, up to you, buddy.
Man, I don't know. To me, we're going to split. I feel we're going to split 1-1 with Clemson this year when we play them. So do we win this one or do we beat them in the ACC championship? It's going to be tough, but I think we can pull it off. But it's going to be a tough game. If we do win this one, it will not be by very much.
Okay, fair enough. So we got 2 wins and 2 losses based on the expert's opinion here. So after that, this is where we got to be a little careful. Going to Boston College, they always play us tough, and it's obviously going to be an emotional night on November 7th. So November 14th at Boston College, I still think we leave no stone unturned there. Win by at least 14 points against Boston College on the road.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little closer. I think they're all going to be worn out from the game before, the week before. So I'd say we win by 10.
Lynch?
I'm with Nate. I think this one's going to be, the Clemson game is going to be pretty taxing on all of our players. But I think we still pull it off 10-14.
Dunbar?
I think this day is circled on the calendar for a certain quarterback at Boston College.
Oh, that's right. How can I
So
forget?
I think this is going to be young Drakovic's first shot at a Super Bowl. I think we're going to win, but I think it's going to be a little bit closer just because the guys are going to be emotionally spent from whichever direction the week before goes.
First and only Super Bowl for Phil Dracovic. Just throwing that out there. Next up, we've got this one's weird, man. It's on a Friday night. It's in the evening. It's at Chapel Hill in North Carolina. Chaz Surratt, really good ball player. Daz Newsome, really good ball player. North Carolina scares me a little bit, boys. I don't know. I'm on the fence on this one, but I think we win, and I think it'll be extremely close and very taxing on all of our emotions. And again, I think Always Irish will probably be having a meltdown by the third quarter. I think Lynch, the sheriff, will probably be booting about 15 people by the end of the game. And I think I'll be defending Kelly all night after that one. But I think we win. I'm not giving a score, but I think we win. Nate?
Yeah, I think this UNC team's a sleeper team.
Yeah.
In our division now.
ACC.
So I think it's gonna be pretty close. I think we only win by a touchdown.
All right, Lynch, who you got?
Oh, I'm gonna take us. I think I don't know. I'm thinking two scores.
Okay. Dunbar?
I wish I could remember the stat. This is the game that I've had. This was my concern game outside of Clemson because it's a Friday night, which is not normal. And I wish I could remember the stat that I read somewhere that the ranked team is not usually things haven't turned out so well for them on Friday nights games. So I wish I could find the stats so I could be more specific and on point with it. But I say we still win. We have more talent.
Okay, good. I like that. And then we finished the season in a weird game. First time we've played in December since, I think, 1953. December 5th at home against Syracuse. Rumor has it that Jack Swarbrick is considering letting more fans in for that because kids will already be off campus for the most part. So let's pray for that. It's probably going to be snowing, which I think is awesome. Notre Dame Syracuse to finish the season December 5th. I've got Notre Dame winning by as many as they want to. Nate?
Yeah, I'd say 3 scores, and Kelly doesn't want to run it up in the 4th.
Okay, probably right. Lynch?
Oh, big game. Big game. I think we absolutely crushed the Orange again.
Yep.
Like you said, by as many as they want to. We're going to see a lot of players that maybe haven't saw the field on.
Okay. Dunbar, who you got in the last game?
Notre Dame won't be close.
So I think it sets up obviously very nicely for Notre Dame and Clemson to meet again in the ACC championship. I can't say it enough. I'm a rose-colored glasses guy. Everybody knows that, but I still think this team goes undefeated, and I think that undefeated season continues on into the ACC title game where we win the ACC championship and then walk away back to the Independence next year in 2021 when life returns to normal. Dunbar, what about you?
Well, it's tough to beat anybody twice, and I think this is where I think Notre Dame. This is one of the things that Always Irish Kennedy he always talks about. Is this would be the ultimate troll for Notre Dame to play 1 year in a division and walk away with the championship and go back to independence.
I want it so bad.
Beating a team twice is pretty hard to do, and I think Notre Dame should be able to win this one with the experience and getting to see what Clemson has in November. I think under better weather and better atmosphere, Notre Dame wins this game.
So it sounds like Dunbar's final prediction is 11-1 with an ACC championship. Lynch, how about you, bud?
It goes back to the splitting the series with Clemson. I think, if we beat them regular season, we're not as likely to beat them in the championship. However, I would rather lose in the regular season than beat them in the championship.
There you go.
Just like you said, take that trophy home and just not let them have it.
Nate?
Yeah, I think we lose the first game close, but we were in it the whole time, and I think we actually win by 10 in the ACC championship against Clemson.
So it sounds like we've got a couple of 12-1s and me with 13-0, and I'm going to stick with that. We'll post these later. Matt, Jason, thank you, gentlemen, very much for joining us. Thank you both for all you do for the page. We love you guys, and talk to you guys soon.
Yes, sir. Uncle Mater out.
All right, go Irish.
Go Irish.
Go Irish.
Whoops, sorry, Matt. Cut Matt off there as you were saying, go Irish. All right, so there's the staff's predictions. We weren't able to have Benny or Wayne on, or Justin Knox, who's going to be helping us out with our writing this year again. But thank you, gentlemen, very much. Also, Benny Grimm wasn't able to come on. For those of you guys that have been following the countdown that we do, Benny Grimm is the guy that does all the history stuff. So he's kind of our historian. So thank you, Benny, for all you do. We got number 6 coming up. We had Tony Jones Jr. today. We've got Jock coming up in the middle. And then we've got a main event this evening, which you'll have to stay tuned for. Nate, schedule-wise, so you're saying 12-1?
Yeah, 12-1.
ACC championship, man. Grabbing that ACC championship, taking it back to South Bend, displaying it in the Goog, and then just going back to the independent schedule that we always have would just be so amazing. Oh man, I want that so bad.
It makes too much sense. It brings way too much hype to the
totally.
game. I think the Irish would be so excited to play that day, and they'd come out just firing on all cylinders.
It would be, like you said, such an epic troll.
Yeah.
Just like, hey, we were in the ACC once, didn't really care for it because it was too easy, so we're going back. One thing that I think will come up a lot during the season is the fact that the Irish have so much depth at each position. I think that's going to be that. I think the team that has the most depth will probably end up being the team that's the most successful this year, because I hate to say this, but somebody's going to get COVID along the way. It's going to happen, okay? This thing's here to stay. But what we've seen, I saw somebody post an article recently where all the college kids that have gotten COVID, not one of them has been hospitalized. That's an incredible stat. That just shows you how if you get this thing and you're young and you don't have any comorbidities, you're probably going to be okay. So yeah, we got to take it seriously, but I think if somebody were to get it, you quarantine them, keep them away, that kind of thing. But whoever can stay healthy, whoever can have enough depth for the issues that do come up during the season is going to be the most successful. And I think when you look at the 3 deep that Notre Dame employs this year, I think they have more depth than just about anybody in the country. So I'm excited for it. Moving on, we want to talk really quick about the golf tournament coming up that our buddy Clinton Johnson, the former Notre Dame kick return and wide receiver, is putting on. We've talked a lot about this. Nate, if you could leave the comments in there below. The website is SaveUSports2020.com. If you're in the Chicago area, you've got to check this out. Clint did share with me that the next tournament for Save U Sports is actually going to probably be in the Dallas area. So Tim O'Shea, Jason Prince, any of our buddies in the Dallas, Fort Worth type area, looks like that next tournament's going to be in your area. Not confirmed, but it's looking like that's going to be the case. That said, for the tournament on September 22nd, some of the players appearing will be Oliver Gibson, Reggie Florima, Lee Becton, Emmett Mosley, John Lynch, Oscar McBride, Kenyon Tatum, Rocket, Junior Bryan are sending some items in. They won't be there in person, but they are sending some items in for some of the raffles and swag bags. Single golfer is $250. A foursome is $900. Whole sponsorships are $350, and that includes a sign on the tee box and players for the tournament. So really great opportunity for you to get involved in saving youth sports across the country. Clint has taken on this initiative to make sure that kids are able to play once we're returning from all this nonsense. And he's done a great job with that. He's got a ton of support, ton of guys that are behind him. And I just can't thank him enough for all he's doing. We're going to be working with him on that. We also have sponsorship opportunities available, which is also a nonprofit that we're working with. So if you'd like to sponsor us to try to get out to the tournament, to live stream it, to participate, let us know. We'd love to send you the link. Again, it's a nonprofit, so you'll get a tax write-off if you want to send the Dos Leprechauns to this tournament, or maybe even the one in Dallas if that ends up happening. Next up, I want to move on to an article that we saw from the South Bend Tribune Indy Insider, Eric Hansen, a good friend of ours, who's going to try to come on today, but he has grandfather duties. So it was talking all about what the game situation would look like. As you guys know, no player walk, no trumpets, no midnight drum circle. The band will not march, but the band will play in the stadium. That's been confirmed. They'll be playing socially distanced, so you'll see kind of them spread out a little bit more than you normally would, but so they can keep it as safe as possible. Just a few notes from the interview here. There's no tailgating or loitering, so that means on game day you won't be able to just go down to campus and try to catch players as they come out or come in or anything like that. They're trying to keep it as airtight as possible. Only students, families, faculty, and then, of course, the band will be allowed in the stadium for the first part of the season. Let's see. Stadium gates will open, but that doesn't really go to anybody else. Let's see here. I know there was something that he mentioned about the NBC experience, since most of us will be watching it on TV. He said the short answer is nothing will really change. It'll look very similar, and that's what both Notre Dame and NBC wanted. For any comments. Let's see here. There was another one. So Jack did leave it open where he talked about fans coming in. It's looking like there's going to be about 15,000 from the people that are currently allowed in. But he does say somewhere here in the article, trying to see, actually it's not in this article, but it's been mentioned before that Jack Swarbrick is thinking that there's a good possibility that in December for that Syracuse game that there might be more fans allowed in, so some of the general public. So we'll keep our fingers crossed for that, because that would be great if we could get in there. I would love to go to a game in the snow. I'm assuming it's going to be snowing on December 5th in South Bend, so we'll see how that plays out. Last thing we're going to talk about here as far as sponsorships, and we'll get to some questions from the feed. We have a very, very, very generous sponsor that came through, not just for Dos Leprechauns, but also for the Save You Sports. He's donating one of these pictures that I'm going to show you. He's a photographer. His name's John Matera. He's a huge ND fan. Go ahead and show it, Nate. Huge ND fan. He's been blessed to photograph several ND games at the Coliseum and at ND Stadium. This one right here, you probably all recognize. If you could hold it up just a little bit more, bud. I'm going to zoom in on the picture. This is a picture that he took. Okay, he's going to take it up front. This is a picture that he took at the Coliseum in the famous game in 2012 where we had the goal line stand, the 4th and 1 stand. Hold it a little higher. There you go. If you're listening to this later on the podcast, you won't see this, but it's a beautiful photo that John took. He's donated that to the Save You Sports campaign, as well as to us to hang up in our room here. The next one we're going to show you here is titled Our Mother. The image displays the Sacred Heart of Jesus statue giving reverence to our mother on top of the glorious Golden Dome. The image was captured during the 2006 game versus Penn State. Lower it a little bit. So you'll see there, it's just an absolutely breathtaking photo, really big on a canvas print. It looks absolutely spectacular. He's currently working on more indie images that he'll be displaying soon. He hopes to have his website and sales available very soon, but you can contact him directly. I'm going to ask Nate to leave that in the comments section. If you want to purchase some of John's photos, you can email him, johnmatera@sbcglobal.net. And again, we want to thank John for his sponsorship for both our program as well as for the Save You Sports Initiative. It was really epic of him to do that. I don't even know if I let Clint know that he's got some pictures to donate so far, but he definitely does. So excited for that. Do we have any comments or questions?
No.
All right, so that's pretty much it. We went a little longer than expected, but I hope you guys enjoyed the 2020 season preview. We're just 6 days away. The next time we come to you guys live will be on Sunday after the first Notre Dame football game against Duke, hopefully with great news. And when I say great news, I mean a huge beatdown of that team. So looking forward to that. Everybody have a safe week. Get ready for the game. Hope you guys have an enjoyable time during the game. Watch NFL on Sunday if you'd like to, but we will be coming back live on Sunday at 1:30. Actually, no, we'll need to do it earlier because the Chargers play. Anyway, we'll be coming back next Sunday to talk about the Duke game and preview the South Florida game. With that, we want to thank you guys very much.